Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And if you missed it, Second Dinner, the creators of Marvel Snap, this weekend held a creator gauntlet. They created a tournament for basically every content creator in the creator program. Yes, I played. We'll talk about that later. They created this giant tournament with 3 brackets, 1 the Americas, 2 Europe, and 3 Asia and the rest of the world. And with that giant tournament, we have every deck that finished at the top of that tournament. We've got 5 decks for you here today that we're going to talk about. We're going to kick it off with our friend Den. Den played this mill deck, went 6-0, winning the European region. And this deck is wild. I put this deck into Untapped. I put this deck into Marvel Snap Zone. This has like no data anywhere. Den made a deck out of nowhere and decided to just casually roll through a field of top players, top creators, top players in the world. The European region featured players like Sizer and Aoi, and Den was still able to be undefeated with this, let's just call this extraordinarily unconventional mill deck. All right. So you can find Den on Twitter at twitter.com/Den_CCG. You need Wiccan, Misery, Zemo, Gladiator, and Grandmaster to play this deck. Someone's going to ask, do I think you should get Misery to play this deck? No. Unless you are like a mill aficionado, I don't think you especially need Misery. But hey, there are 2 different players, Den and Avazord, both played mill. We're going to cover both of those mill decks. If those are decks you have to play, well, then you have to have Misery for them. So we're going to cover them both in this video, first and last. So Silver Sable is not a necessary card here. Spider-Ham, Iceman, Hydra Bob are all perfectly acceptable replacements. I'm a little bit partial to Hydra Bob here because I don't often want to be Grandmastering my Silver Sable, although beasting Silver Sable is good. I don't really want to be Grandmastering it. I don't really want my Silver Sable to die from getting hit by Misery, so I'm partial to a sort of powerful non-on-reveal card. Ant-Man would do the job for those of you who don't have Hydra Bob here, but Sable is very good. And again, Den went completely undefeated with this ridiculously unconventional deck. I just bluntly, for those of you who I'm friends with like half the creator community at this point. I've been making videos for well over a year. I feature a lot of people's decks, and I'm a fairly friendly person. But Den is also another Marvel Snap Zone writer, right? He's the head writer at Snap Zone. So Den wasn't free after the tournament. So I made Sizer play this on stream in order to sort of get a feel for it, so I could sort of talk you through. So turn 1, Yondu, Hood, and Sable are all fine. You really want 2 demons. When you get 2 demons, this deck feels very different. Turn 2, you'd like Cable, and if you can't get Cable, you're fine doing a 1+1. You have plenty of 1s in order to be able to do that, but Cable gives you a lot of information about what you're doing. Turn 3 is, generally speaking, Gladiator over Grandmaster or Cable or whatever. Just very quickly, you very rarely want to Baron Zemo on turn 3, but you will happily drop a Rogue on what the matchup I've seen most is on a Madam Web. But if you're facing a deck that might be running Iron Man, you need to save Rogue, so it gets a little bit complicated. Gladiator is your main play here, though again, like a Cable and a Sable are fine. Turn 4, Wiccan is generally better than Misery. Wiccan just really opens up gameplay here because you get so much energy. If not, Misery is fine. You could even, if you know you're going to Wiccan, you can always Beast, and then you can Wiccan and play other cards. Or you can Beast and then drop cards straight into Misery, straight into whatever lane you would like to set up for Misery. Turn 5, Wiccan is still probably better than Misery. Again, Wiccan gives you a bajillion energy at the end of the game. But generally speaking, what I find myself most wanting to do on turn 5, what I saw most common, was Beast. If you've gotten milled down to their last card, you 100% want a Zemo here, almost over anything else, but Beast. And you can Beast and Zemo this turn if you got a Wiccan earlier, although they're unlikely to be completely milled out unless you Miseried at that point. Turn 6 is sort of go off as much as you can with whatever's left. Demons and Rogue are key. Yeah, that's it. You just sort of play everything. The big weakness with this list, to me, of having seen it played, is that like you need to throw Prio, right? But you'll have a lot of high power cards, and like Shadow King and Rogue really want you to have thrown Prio to end the game. If you can manage to do that, though, you've got a decent chunk of your opponent's cards on your side of the board, and you should be more or less able to take over the game. It is the deck lacks a big finish, right? There's no Goliath here, there's no Death here, there's no any of that other stuff. So you have to sort of win with their cards and the combos. Early on, you get so far ahead on tempo. You can fairly often go like Yondu, Cable, and then you get a snap. And those early snaps really put a lot of pressure on opponents, making this a very powerful list. So After this next bit, we're going to talk about the thumbnail deck, the deck that won the Americas region, which I also played, and then we'll talk about my experiences since I ended up playing that. But before we get there, if you're willing to hit that sub button, we're trying to get to 15,000 subs by the end of the year, and it looks for all the world like we're going to get there. It's absolutely amazing the amount of support we're getting. Please join in that support if you're willing. We do at least 7 days a week of Marvel Snap videos. We did 9 videos last week. This week we're doing at least 8 videos. We give you more Marvel Snap content than anyone, the best decks from the best players. Like, you're not going to find all these decks at the top of the different metas anywhere else. If you want to play cool Marvel Snap decks, this is the best channel for you. I absolutely promise you. I stand by that with my whole heart. In addition, if you're willing to help us out, a like and a comment go a long way to getting the YouTube algorithm to show us to more people. In addition, they get us to it can help you win a season pass. Yesterday's video, we gave away 2 season passes. We give away 1 a week every week for the regular part of the season, and then the last week of the season and the first week of the new season we give away 5 season passes. So in addition to as a thank you for basically all the support you all give me, I give back to the community. If you're willing to hit that sub button later this video, I'm going to ask a question, you comment, and as long as you're subbed, you're entered to win that Agent Venom. And if you have Agent Venom, I'll give you a gold pass, or we can hold off till next month, whatever. It's all the same to me. In addition, if you're interested in the Pocket meta, the new Pokemon Pocket Pokemon Marvel Snap like game, please do check out my channel there. I'm just sort of waiting for the game to come out to sort of release a ton of videos. We've released a few preview videos, but I can't spend money on the game right now, which means I'm short cards for like most decks, which has really hurt the content game. But if you're interested in Pokemon Pocket, you know we're going to do a ton of content with that, and it's got my 8-year-old son making content with me, and he's adorable, so show some love. Finally, we've got Teebs the Grand Surf. This is the deck that was the thumbnail deck. This deck is wildly freaking good. Teebs won the Americas circuit with this, the Americas portion of the tournament with this deck, going completely undefeated. Teebs is a wonderful streamer and wonderful person. I cannot urge you to check her out enough. This deck is shockingly different, largely because Silver Sable and Grandmaster, and Silver Sable is going to be an absolute ton of these lists. It's the best one drop in the game right now. But largely thanks to Silver Sable and Grandmaster being in the list, those are like the big surprise cards that I totally didn't expect. What I found I liked Sable for a lot was sometimes I'd want to like go Hope on 3, and then I want to on turn 4 be able to play a Brood, but I don't want to Brood on Hope, and having that extra Sable there was really, really useful. Sometimes you see Brood and you don't see Absorb Man, being able to Grandmaster and get another extra full lane of Broods is really, really powerful. This deck fundamentally says, with Makari, with the extra ways to get Brood out, with the extra Absorb Man, I can put enough power everywhere that you can't compete with me. I've got just enough ways to get power all over the place that you can't handle. I've got more 3s than any Surfer deck you've ever dealt with, and thus every lane ends up in the low 20s, and a lot of decks in the meta are prepared to go really, really tall in one that you lose, right? Unless you get the Juggernaut or the Big Shaw thing. And then like the other lanes are just contestable, and you're able to win with this list. So I played this list today. I woke up, took my son to his grandmother's where he hung out for a few hours of the day, and it was like I came home, it was like 12:30 in the afternoon, and I realized I was in like 5th place in my league. So I decided to play. I played this from 12:30 to 2:30, and then I had to go leave at 2:30 to pick him up at 3, and I ended up in 1st place with my league with a 63% win rate in that 2-hour time span with this deck. 62.5% win rate if you want to be exact. So this list is legit. You have my word. So you can find Teebs at twitch.tv/Teebs. The only card you really, really need here is Sebastian Shaw. Shaw is incredibly important for this list. Silver Sable can be Iceman. It could also be, if you're missing one of the 3s, you can go Killmonger Nova there just fine. Grandmaster can be Scorpion. This is old school, right? Like, my thought here was I just miss Grandmaster Scorpion, and like if we're trying to win games on margin, Scorpion is a card that really helps you do that. If you don't have Red Guardian, it has to be Rogue. Red Guardian is fundamentally your Iron Man answer. If you haven't noticed, Iron Man is one of the most played cards in Marvel Snap again, so you need an answer. Copycat and Makari are just your good 3s. Copycat is one of the meta answers at this point. It's really, really good to let you know what your opponent's doing, which lets you control what you're doing. So Copycat can be Nocturne, Cassandra, Polaris. I wrote Cassandra twice, excuse me, Killmonger. Makari, same basic concept. Cassandra gives you an extra benefit because you can go Cassandra on 3, Absorb Man on 4, and do the same sort of thing that Scorpion would do in different situations. Makari is really hard to replace. I know everyone said she was a bad card. I was never convinced she was a bad card. I've always had a decently high win rate with her. I've got like 2 or 3 Makari decks. I felt like 15 decks to show you this week. It's completely wild how many decks I have on a Monday. But Makari is just a good card. Getting that 1 extra 3 out is really powerful. And yes, sometimes it backfires on you and clogs a lane or does something annoying. But most of the time, it's just an extra 6 power. And like a free 6 power is a lot. Hope can be Sarah. If you don't have Hope, you have to run Sarah in this list. Sarah is way worse than Hope because Hope gives you lots of variability in what you do at that point, where Sarah does not. And then, again, Killmonger Nova could be a replacement for 2 cards here. All right, so again, 6-0 in the Creator Gauntlet. Turn 1, Sable. Turn 2, Forge if you have Brood or Shaw next. Turn 3 is, generally speaking, I would rather hold Forge and play Hope. But sometimes I'll even just Forge Hope and just say, all right, 8 power Hope seems fine. And that's better than Brood. Turn 4 is a card on Hope or Absorbing Men. And sometimes, remember, if you have Silver Sable that you didn't play or that you drew later, you can play Silver Sable on Hope and then still play like a Brood or another card elsewhere. Turn 5, ideally you can play 2 3s, right? Ideally that you got that card on Hope and now you can do 2 3s. But you can also play Grandmaster Forge on a key card. So if you went Brood that previous turn, you can now Grandmaster that to the center. Remember, ordering does not matter here. Or you can just Forge Brood here, right? Or you can Forge Shaw here. That's perfectly fine. And then turn 6, it's generally, if you didn't get both Forge and Brood out, both Shaw and Brood out, you're fairly likely to go Shaw or Brood and Surfer, but you can also go Juggernaut and Surfer fairly often, or you can go Surfer and Absorb Man if you got an extra card on Hope on turn 5. Cool. Next up, after this, we're going to take one last look at this list, and then we're going to talk about a list that 4 different people in different parts of the world used to make the cut in this tournament. So 4 different people used the same deck, which I think I'm going to make an argument. It means it's the best deck right now. It's the deck that you have to have a meta answer to if you're trying to climb in Marvel Snap. But first, one last look at this, and huge props to Teebs. Please do check out Teebs, just Teebs. Teebs is a full-time student and wonderful streamer and incredible player, and I think this list is the cat's meow. I had a blast playing it, so go check it out. Yes, I did say the cat's meow. Hey, if you'd like to see gameplay for these lists, please check out the stream team. It is Monday, so Gregor2424 will have these decks played at 12 p.m. Eastern, and Obehave should have a video up on his YouTube with yesterday's decks relatively soon. All right. Next up, we have the Witty Cam midrange. We're going to move through this one relatively quickly. We covered this last week. But 4 different people used this to make the cut, and countless people played it. This is the meta deck. It's got a 60% win rate on ladder. It is the deck that you need to be aware of. Someone in Friday's video, I believe it was Friday's video, excuse me if it's the wrong video, was like, is Thena still worth it? I haven't seen her in a meta deck in a while. Well, Thena's the kind of scaling card that it's always a matter of time before she comes back. Exhibit A. This deck. This is, again, the best deck in Marvel Snap right now. Within a card or 2, there's like 2 or 3 different substitutions you can make. All right, so this was created by Woody and Cam Best and a Snap on YouTube, just Cam Best MS on Twitch, and Yo Woody MJ on Twitch is that name. If you can watch Cam play it on his YouTube video. Husky Puppies played this, went 5-1. Song YY played this, Husky Puppy played this in the Americas tournament and went 5-1, which this seems like a good point to actually tell you. I went 1-2 in the tournament. I lost my first game to No Lux Given. It was an Arishem that did all the Arishem things. I played the Sizer move list, the one with Storm. Then I played Cozy. I beat Cozy in a fairly close game. Cozy played a Darkhawk hand clog deck. And then I lost to Husky in a very close game that you can find VODed on his channel somewhere. So Husky went 5-1 with this list. I was one of the wins. Song YY in the Asia region went 5-1 with this. NH Koru went 5-1, and thank you, NH Koru, for dropping me the list when I shot you a message. I believe in the European region, and Peralta playing in the Peralta MG playing in the Asia region, and you chose your region based on what time worked for you. You don't have to be from that region because Peralta, I believe, is Brazilian, but went 5-1 with this list. So this list is legit. It can compete at the highest levels of tournaments if you're really good. It can carry you on ladder. This is a legit list. Go play this list. You're not going to be sad to have played it. It's one of the best in all of Marvel Snap. The cards you need for it are only 4: Thena, Kitty, Agent Venom, and Kate. So if you bought Agent Venom and Kate over the last 2 months, all you would need is Thena and Kitty. If you've been playing long enough, they gave us Kitty for free once upon a time. Song YY had Juggernaut in for speed, so if you don't have speed, run Juggernaut. And props to Song YY. I actually think Juggernaut is probably damn near as good as speed, if not better. Juggernaut goes phenomenally in a ton of decks. Cassandra Nova could also be Juggernaut, or Hope Summers, Red Guardian, Sage, Luke, Rogue, whatever. Cassandra Nova is a card that is fundamentally just sort of whatever good 3 you want, but remember, you want it to be not more than 4 power. I like Sage here. Cassandra Nova is a card you want to play on 3. Sage is a card you want to play at the end of the game, but Juggernaut's a card you want to play at the end of the game, not on 3 too, and that ends up working out fine. So it ends up being ultimately okay in that case. Luke is also really good because there's a decent amount of affliction nonsense out in the meta, and Rogue is just a meta card. Don't sleep on Rogue right now. Again, this deck is part of why Iron Man is so prevalent, but Iron Man is so prevalent right now. Silver Sable can be Hydra Bob, Iceman, Ant-Man. Pick your favorite one and put it in the deck. Probably not Hood, but outside of that, you'll be fine. All right, so I think this is the best deck. Straight up. I think that the ceiling on the Sizer Storm move deck is higher. But I think fewer people can play that. I think for the majority of people, this is going to be the best deck. All right, so turn 1, you want Kitty over Sable. Turn 2, you want Agent Venom over Kate if you need a 1 over Thena. You can go 2+1 with Thena, or you can play Cassandra Nova on 3. Turn 4, you pick a 3+1. And if I have Iron Man, I really, really want my 3 to be Cosmo, because the rise of Iron Man has led to a rise in Rogue. So this is where I like to get out my, unless I'm sure I can get Prio going into the end, and I'm sure I want to Cosmo and Iron Man lane, I would very much like to make sure that I get out a Cosmo here, so I can just drop an Iron Man in that Cosmo lane and not have to worry about it. So 3+1. And then turn 5 is Iron Man or Claw, and then turn 6 you're making one of 2 choices. You're going Mystique and another 3, or you're going Iron Man and Claw. Or sorry, Iron Man or Claw and a 1, whichever of the 5s you didn't play in the previous turn. That's it. It's super simple. It's super straightforward. It's incredibly powerful. Play this list. We're then, after we talk about this, going to talk about the first place deck in the Asia region, despite our friend being Australian. It's Cobra Blade, and longtime viewers should know the word blade means one thing. But one last look at this deck for the second time. Hopefully, we're going to mention this deck from time to time going forward. We always mention top decks just to keep you abreast of them, but this should be the last time that we cover this fully with a full deck guide. All right, so our season pass questions, we've got 5 decks in this video. Which of these is your favorite? Which do you think is coolest? Which, for whatever reason, do you like most? Do you want to try most? Why? Answer that question in the comments for your chance to win a season pass as long as you're subscribed. Cobra Blade. Oh shit, we made this deck when Zabu was... We did a giant video on Friday where we said these are the 10 decks to try after the patch, right? Decks that had changed, had cards changed, that got better, worse, so on and so forth. We literally took this deck, this was Cobra Kai, Safety Blades deck, and we removed Nico Minoru, and we added Zabu, and this is that list, I believe. It might be, oh, and Rogue is in for a different too, excuse me. So we have almost this exact deck. We know why Rogue's here. I've explained why Rogue's here 800 times, but this list is awesome. If you can get Zabu into Wiccan, you're in heaven. If you can get Zabu into Gwenpool, you're in heaven. If you can get Zabu into Shang, like, it's not quite as good, but you're not, like, sad, right? Turn 5 Shang with a Copycat, a Rogue, a Marvel Boy is so strong. I love this list. All right, so twitch.tv/SafetyBlade. Our friend Safety absolutely dominated with this. I might be on Safety's stream later on. I don't know if we're going to stream it, but Safety's going to teach me some Pokemon Pocket because he's a Pokemon expert. So if you're interested in checking that out, please do. Either way, check out Safety. So this deck needs Kitty, Zabu, Wiccan, Eliath, Gwenpool, Kate, and Marvel Boy. Silver Sable can be Nico, Iceman, whatever. Copycat can be whatever 3. Nocturne, Juggernaut. Pick a 3 that you wouldn't mind playing on 3. Ideally not Sage, and you will be fine there. Oh, that's not right. We gonna talk you through this. All right. So turn 1 is actually Zabu. If you have Zabu, you almost always play Zabu, with one exception. If you have no 2, right, then you need to, and you have either Kitty or Maria Hill, you need to play that before you play Zabu. Maria Hill will give you a 2 to play on 2, and Kitty Pryde will say, I can now play Kitty and Zabu on 2. Makes sense? So your turn 2 is either the Maria Hill generated card, Kate Bishop, obviously perfectly fine. Or 2 1s. Generally speaking, that would be Kitty Pryde and Zabu, Kitty Pryde and Silver Sable, because if you had Maria Hill, you probably just would have played her. Turn 3. Ideally, you have several ones out. If you do have several ones out, then Marvel Boy is all of a sudden one of the most powerful cards in Marvel Snap. If you got Zabu and you can Gwenpool, I will, unless I have multiple ones out, unless I have Zabu and Maria Hill and Sable out, I'm very likely to just get that Gwenpool out because she's so strong. And obviously, Wiccan will take priority. If not, it's Zabu. There's 1/1/1 exception. If you see a early, and the name of the card is now gone, Madam Web, you want to rogue it. Outside of that, you basically Marvel Boy. And if Copycat is fine, depending on what it is. Copycat's usually a perfectly fine play here. If you did not see a 3 and did not get Zabu and everything's falling apart, hopefully you saw Kate Bishop and you can play a 2 of her ones with a different one that you drew. Like 2 arrows and a kitty are perfectly fine here. Turn 4, your absolute goal is Wiccan. If you get Wiccan, you're probably snapping. You would really like to Wiccan into Gwenpool and then another 3. This is where you want to Copycat, Rogue, whatever else. Sometimes you can Gwenpool and Shang-Chi, and that is completely insane. And then you end the game with Goliath, and then whatever else you can, and then you win. That's it. Nice and simple. Super strong list. Please do play this. We covered this list again on Friday. If you'd like to see it written out, there's a full write-out of the same basic thing as this on that video, and this list is excellent. Rogue gives you so much play into so many things when combined with Shang. Shang is like barely getting played anymore, and the card is incredibly strong. We're going to go into that last mill list, but first we got to review a couple bundles. We're going to start with Malevolent Mutations. This is the Mr. Sinister bundle. Mr. Sinister is an early series card, and they're selling this variant of it for $20. You get 1,000 credits and 1,200 golds and a Cosmic Red card border. What they're really selling you here is a Cosmic Red card border because this is an abysmal deal. Unless you are desperate for that Cosmic Red card border, do not buy this. Our low value deal that we ever buy, that I ever suggest, is about 172%. That is what we usually expect when we're spending money in Marvel Snap in terms of progression value. 1,000 credits and 1,200 gold does not even approach what you would get for $20. This is a bad deal. Do not buy it unless you are desperate for that Cosmic Red border. Mr. Sinister is an early series card. Let's also talk about the You Know the Meme bundle. You Know the Meme bundle is 161.2% for 3,500 credits, which is actually reasonable. That's lower than the baseline okay thing. So why is that reasonable? Well, Baron Zemo is a Series 5 card. Baron Zemo's in a couple decks today. I don't think those decks are necessarily great unless you are the type of person who will really play the crap out of them and dedicate yourself to them. Den and Avazord are amazing mill players, but when you check mill stats for most regular people, they are actually really low. So, do you need the mill cards? No. Unless you're really going to dedicate yourself, try and figure it out. Baron Zemo is an amazing play on turn 5 and a terrible play on turn 3 most of the time. Learning how to optimize that play pattern can make Baron Zemo a very good buy. But what this really does is say for $25, you get some good progress and a Series 5 card. If you need Baron Zemo and you want to play Baron Zemo, this is a must-buy, absolute easy buy. It's so much better to buy this bundle than to spend a bunch of money on tokens and then buy the base card that way. It's absolutely through the roof way better to do it this way because, well, you get the 3,500 credits and the variant and everything else. So if you need Zemo, get this. If you don't need Zemo, please skip this bundle. Last up, we're going to finish with Ava's Mill Destroy, and this is a I don't know, really cool list. I don't know how else to say it. I think that this is very cool. If Den's version doesn't have finishers, this one has at least a few more finishers than Den's version, and is probably easier to play, but Den's version is more disruptive and gives you more early snap equity. It gives you more power to claim early advantage and really put the pressure on your opponent. However, this list is still super strong and super interesting. You can find Ava streaming at twitch.tv/Avazord. Ava's Brazilian, so he streams in both Portuguese and English, but if you speak to him in English, he'll answer you, I promise. I talk to Ava all the time. I mean, everyone who won is someone that we know, someone that we've spoken to. So you need Misery, Zemo, and Gladiator for this list. Vision, Claw, or Lady Deathstrike can be Legion. I would tend toward Lady Deathstrike, but there's a lot to speak of Claw as well. 5-1 in the North American bracket. Sorry, the Americas bracket. I don't know why I said NA. Stupid ethnocentrism. But yeah, 5-1 in the Americas bracket. So turn 1, Hood or Yondu is perfectly fine. Turn 2, you really want Cable over a 1, obviously. Turn 3, you want Gladiator over Zemo. Please don't play Zemo if you can avoid it on turn 3. I would much rather drop an extra 1 in Carnage. I would Killmonger if I could get like 3 or 4 kills off of it just fine at that point. Turn 4, you would like Misery over Killmonger or Carnage. Turn 5 is Zemo and a 2, or Legion, or you can just get your Shang out. And then turn 6 is Death or Shang and Shadow King. If you could get your Death cheap enough to Death and Shang or Death and Shadow King, you are very likely to win with this deck. That's fundamentally what your goal is. Get them milled out so they have limited options, and then win with Death and Shang or Death and Shadow King. Cool. Lots of power to this one. Really cool list. Ava's, I mean, I thought Ava was the best mill player in the world, but Den's giving him run for his money. Let's go. Try this list out. Ava's got another mill that he played that I may like better. We'll cover that within the next couple of days. Again, we have every 5-1 deck and several of the 4-2 decks that made the cut. So if you're interested in checking that out, please do so. Also on the Marvel Snap Twitch this weekend, there will be a top 32 and then a top 8 happening on Saturday and Sunday. So check that out as well. Questions of the day. Before we actually do questions of the day, I did do my tournament when we talked about Husky. There we go. All right, so Ryan Wood, Character Mastery returns. My thoughts. So a lot of people really, really love Character Mastery. I don't honestly care. So what happened is when they broke the splits, they were like, hey, we broke the splits because we're preparing to implement Character Mastery. It probably won't happen for a few months, but we are working on it, which is really cool. I know a lot of people are excited for it. I don't actually care about Character Mastery, like especially. I think it's cool when they release the like albums with all the different variants for one card, and I very often have, like, I've been playing a long time, I put a lot of money into the game, I very often have a lot of those variants. I think I've got most of those bundles filled or close enough to filled to get everything I want from them, which is really cool. I'm perfectly fine with those. I wish they would hurry up and release more of those, but if they do Character Mastery and people are happy, cool. Like, I want extra things in the game. Extra things to make the game more enjoyable to engage with are always a plus. Philip Rakovich, Ratko, who does all the shorts on the channel, hey Ratko, asks, he's doing Spooktember, and so he's got, he's doing like a Spooktember series of questions. We've got a lot of, by the way, personal questions. Some more Marvel Snap questions, if you're on the Discord, would be nice, so that I'm not always just talking about, I don't mind talking about my life, but I feel like some people like some Snap. What am I afraid of? And like, this is going to be dark, so like, if you don't want to hear dark stuff, now's the good time to click away. All right. I've got two big fears. One is something happening to my son. That's a very obvious one that I feel like I don't have to get into. Anyone who's a parent knows the exact fear of something horrible happening to them. I don't know how I would go on. I think my world would just end. The other thing is the other like big one, the one that like keeps me up at night, because like I'm fairly reasonable at like not like letting irrational fears overtake me. The big one is I'm an atheist. For anyone who's new here who doesn't know that, I'm not against religion. I think that generally speaking, things can either make you a better person or a worse person, and I'm all for anything that makes you a better person, and all anti anything that makes you a worse person. But all the evidence that I've seen, everything that has been suggested, is that after death, you just no longer exist. And that terrifies me almost enough to have religion. But I feel like that's a poor reason to go about having religion. I don't like the thought of non-existence. I don't like the thought of not being able to think. That scares me to the point where, like, just talking about this now is making me feel a little panicked and will likely cause me trouble when I'm trying to go to sleep. I don't mind the idea of dying. I don't mind the idea of dying painfully, happily, whatever. It's the idea that after that, there's nothing else is terrifying. And I try and find solace in, like, the universal oneness of all stuff. Man, I would really like to enjoy the universal oneness of all stuff, like, as me. But, I don't think that's the case, and I'm not a big fan of it. So yeah, that's what actually spooks me, scares me. All right, we're gonna do a Patreon now, and then we're gonna go to sleep because it's getting late. So patreon.com/snapjudgments. We have a Patreon. I want to offer a new thing on Patreon. I just haven't figured out how to announce it. But a few of you, if any of you would like to reach out, I'd like to like sort of brainstorm, bounce it off you, and let you know. And you can give me some feedback before I announce it in a wider scale. Shoot me a message, y'all. All right, so I'd like to say thank you to Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, Fa Thorn Newman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., I Am Frostman, Jay Neverete, Corwin, Primed Ryan Burke, Caretix Lee, who's the king of questions, Toy Ray, The Black Dahlia, Pyrofros, The Goat Seeker, Denman Falcon, Archangel 3K, Hollowed, love that name, Quid Pro Joe, Docty, the king of new Marvel Snap card content, Frat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, who I had an epic game with earlier today, Ginger Prime, hey Ginger, Philip Rakovich, just got a question, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, the OG, the Notorious Bizza, X-Force V, and Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist, who won Snap Judgments League Season 1 and sponsored Season 2, the King of Bros, the Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Ryan Wood, no, he sponsored Season 3, Woody, Ryan Wood, Kev C. Hoda, Luna Chris, Quantum Quinn, John Q, and Jimmy McHugh, Glam, 8th Sage, Mott Supreme Models, Darth Tater, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B., J. D. McDonaldino, The Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrumix, Hoot, Matt H., DJ, Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Mr. Craig Sterry, BG, Jonesy, Two Ties, The Great Laura Devs, The Pirate King Tucker, The Homie Min, and of course Gunny T, where the T stands for Gunny and Models and Guest basically ran that tournament, and that was the best Marvel Snap tournament that Second Dinner has ever done. And props to my friends for making that shit sing. Wonderful. Check out some more of my content right there. Appreciate you, and I'll see you tomorrow for another Snap Take. Peace.